My name is Brendon Banfield. I'm a federal agent. This is my house. There's somebody here. I shot him. But he stabbed her. She's bleeding. She got several marks on her neck. What do I do?
Brendon said, "No, police, don't drop the knife." And he was saying, "I'm gonna kill her. I'm gonna kill her." And I don't know. He started stabbing her. I think Brendon shot him, and he asked me help to shot him too because.
Knife's there, guns are on the bed. I got you.
Hi, sir. My name is Juliana. I'm one of the doctors here. Your wife has died.
February 24, 2023, 7:30 in the morning. Herndon, Virginia is the kind of place where people move when they've worked hard enough to stop worrying. Good schools, quiet streets, neighbors who wave. On Stable Brook Way, the houses sit back from the road just far enough to feel private. That morning, a young Brazilian woman named Juliana Perez Magalhães was getting ready to take a 4-year-old girl named Sofia out for the day. The morning routine. The kind of ordinary task that fills an au pair's hours. Nothing about it should have mattered. Then Juliana picked up her phone and dialed 911. The first call lasted seconds. She said something about a friend being hurt, then hung up. The second call, same thing. Maybe nerves. Maybe she wasn't sure what she was doing. The third time, she stayed on the line.
Perfect. 911, where's your emergency?
I need help. There is my friend. She just was stuck in the knife now. She's bleeding a lot. I don't know what to do anymore.
And what's your name and what's going on?
And then a man's voice came through. Not panicked. Controlled. The way someone sounds when they've trained themselves to sound controlled. He identified himself as law enforcement.
My name is Brendon Banfield. I'm a federal agent. This is my house. There's somebody here. I shot him. But he stabbed her. She's bleeding. She got several marks on her neck. What do I do?
Okay. So what I need you to do is apply direct pressure directly to where she's bleeding from, okay? Okay, and where is the person that was shot? Are they also in the house downstairs?
Yeah.
In the bedroom too.
Officers arrived at the house within minutes. Inside, they found 2 people dead, a woman, and a stranger. Sophia, 4 years old, too young to understand what she'd been spared from, was found alone in the basement unharmed. What unfolded from that morning would become one of the most disturbing and elaborately premeditated cases Fairfax County had ever seen. Because nothing about that day was what it appeared to be. Not the crime scene, not the 911 calls, not the man on the other end of the line.
Hey, Paul, or Jose. You got that. You got that. I need to watch out for that.
There's a dog back there. So somebody's outside. Someone's outside in the back?
In the back?
There's a dog in the back.
Anyone else outside? Who else is outside?
Oh, nobody outside.
Anyone else in the house? Any kids in the house? Okay.
Yeah, if you want, I'll hold down here.
Okay.
Bring her down here. We can get info directly from her. Hey, help me.
Can you come down with me?
Anybody else blow up?
Yeah, she's breathing. She's got a lot of stab wounds. I think Greg just said you have.
We're getting the ambulance here now.
My host kid is downstairs.
Okay.
I'm here.
How old's your host kid?
She's 4.5.
4.5. Where is she?
I need to talk to her. She doesn't know anything. What's
Can we get her and we'll go outside?
I need to get her.
Hey.
Where do we look?
She's grabbing their 4-year-old. We're gonna go outside.
Okay, perfect.
Just call her, please.
It's okay. Yeah. I know this is hard. Let's get her outside, and then I need to get some information from you.
Hi, Valerie.
Hey.
Hi.
Hey, I'm Officer Bell. Nice to meet you. Do you want to go outside with us?
We need to go outside, okay?
Let's go.
Come here. Come here. I'm gonna take this out.
Yeah, whatever you need to do. What's your name?
Juliana. Oh,
Here.
Okay, so you're with him. Okay.
All right, let's get outside, okay? It's okay. Just breathe, okay? Okay, let's go out this way. So, hey, do you want to hang out with that officer right there?
Fly back around front corner.
To take over? Good. Still breathing.
Sorry?
Still breathing.
Still breathing?
Hey,
Do you want me to put her to watch a show or something?
if you just want to tell me quickly what happened,
I don't really know what happened. Everything happened too fast. I was going to take her to the zoo this morning.
can you go with Officer Batani really quick?
come with us?
Yeah.
He has some stickers for you.
I was going to take her to the zoo this morning, and then I forgot the lunch we were gonna bring. I turned around and came right here, and then I saw this car. This is her car. This car is the person I guess.
You don't know who that? Do you know who the person is?
I have no idea. And then I saw his car, called her to see what's going on because it's early in the morning, like, who was here? And then it was straight to voicemail. I called Brendon, it's her husband, he's up there. I called him, I see a strange car, but I don't know who is that. Can you please come in here, I'm scared. I was just bothering the car. And then he came here, and then we went inside. The guy, I don't know who it is, he was spanking her, I was just here.
Were you here when it happened, or did you walk up in there and that's how they were?
Yeah, he went upstairs first, and then I went to see what is going on. I left Valerie in the basement, and then when I went upstairs, Brendon was saying, "Police, drop the knife."
So, Brendon's a police officer.
Yeah, he's an officer.
Is he with Fairfax?
No?
Where is he an officer?
I don't know. I think it's his office is in Vienna.
Vienna?
Yeah.
Okay. One second.
I'm gonna get.
Okay.
Do you need anything else right now?
Not right now. The guy who shot is they think a Vienna police officer. So we got to think about that. That car, we don't know who. That's the guy who came up here that started the issue. This car is the outside guy, the silver car.
These two.
So this is their car. That is the guy who came here.
Okay.
And then it was because they were yelling at each other. He was saying like, drop the. I'm sorry, my first language is not English.
No, you're doing really well.
He was saying drop
The knife or the gun?
the gun. Yeah, and Brendon said, no, police, don't drop the knife. And then he was saying, I'm gonna kill her. And I don't know, he started stabbing her. I think Brendon shot him, and he asked me help to shot him too because...
It's okay. You don't have to get it all out right now.
I never saw her before. Like,
you didn't see the girl before either? So the guy and the girl you don't know?
She's my boss.
Okay.
She's Valerie's mom. But I never seen it before. Like, it's a lot of blood and...
Okay.
But who were these people? And how did a complete stranger end up dead in a married couple's bedroom on a Friday morning? To answer that, we need to start from the beginning. To anyone looking in from the outside, the Banfield family had it all. Brendon Banfield was a federal law enforcement officer, a special agent with the Internal Revenue Service's Criminal Investigation Division. It sounds dry on paper, but IRS special agents are not pencil pushers. They carry firearms. They build complex financial crime cases. They work alongside the FBI and the DEA. It's a career that demands a certain image, trustworthy, disciplined, by the book. His wife, Christine Banfield, was 37 years old. She was a pediatric intensive care nurse, someone who spent her working days keeping critically ill children alive. By every account, she was the kind of person who ran towards suffering rather than away from it. They had a daughter together, a little girl who, at the time of the murders, was just 4 years old. She was in the house that morning, in the basement, while everything happened upstairs. The Banfields lived in the Reston area of Fairfax County, a wealthy, diverse suburb about 20 miles outside Washington, D.C. They had hired a live-in au pair to help care for their daughter. Her name was Juliana Perez Magalhaes. She was 25 years old, from Brazil, and she had moved into their home in 2021, roughly a year before everything went wrong. At some point, in August 2022, roughly 6 months before the murders, Brendon Banfield began a romantic relationship with Juliana. He was 39, she was 24. She lived in his house, she watched his daughter, and he began sleeping with her. Now, here's where the story gets complicated, because Brendon Banfield was not a man who had one affair and lost his head over it. At trial, he openly admitted on the stand that he had cheated on Christine with multiple women. He said, and I want you to hear this, that the reason he strayed was because he wanted, quote, to have sex more frequently than we did. He even admitted to meeting a woman named Danielle's on what prosecutors described as a sugar baby site. He tried to frame this as an arranged relationship between married people. But what came out at trial painted a very different picture of Brendon Banfield's inner life, a man who was deeply, obsessively, dangerously in love with his au pair, and who would do anything to keep her. According to Juliana's testimony in court, testimony that prosecutors called integral to the entire case, the plot to kill Christine Banfield began in October 2022, 4 months before the murders. Juliana told the jury that Brendon came to her and said he wanted to get rid of his wife. Her reaction, in her own words, she thought he was joking, but Brendon Banfield was not joking. He told Juliana that he wanted to marry her, he wanted to have children with her, and according to prosecutor Jenna Sands, he was already picking out baby names, but he couldn't get divorced. Because in his own calculation, a divorce would cost him too much. Christine, as a pediatric ICU nurse, would have financial leverage over him, and worse, he feared losing custody of their 4-year-old daughter. So in Brendon Banfield's mind, the solution was not to have a difficult conversation, not to file for divorce, not to seek counseling. The solution was murder. If Brendon Banfield was going to kill his wife, he needed 2 things. He needed a way to do it that looked like someone else's fault, and he needed a someone else. Enter FetLife. FetLife is a social networking site for people interested in BDSM. Bondage, discipline, dominance, submission, sadism, and masochism. It's a legal platform used by consenting adults to connect around shared interests. It's also, in this case, the platform that Brendon Banfield chose as his hunting ground. According to Juliana's testimony, she and Brendon used Christine's personal laptop to create a fake account on FetLife, an account built in Christine's name, using Christine's identity, without Christine's knowledge. Through this account, they began communicating with men on the platform. The target they found was Joseph Ryan. He was 39 years old. He lived in Springfield, Virginia, not far from Reston. He had no connection whatsoever to the Banfield family. He was, as Commonwealth's attorney Steve Descano would later say, a perfect stranger. What did Joe Ryan know about Christine Banfield? He thought she was a woman interested in a very specific sexual scenario, a consensual, prearranged fake rape fantasy. He thought he had been in ongoing communication with her. He thought she wanted him to come to her home. He thought everything was consensual. He had no idea that Christine Banfield didn't know he existed, that the person he had been talking to was not Christine at all, that the home he was invited to was not a place of fantasy, it was a slaughterhouse built around him. Planning a double murder requires more than a fake online profile. It requires weapons. And Brendon Banfield as a federal law enforcement officer, already had one. His government-issued service firearm, but he needed more. On January 28, 23, less than a month before the murders, Brendon Banfield purchased a personal firearm, not his service weapon, a second gun. Court records confirm this purchase. He then did something that in hindsight is bone-chilling in its deliberateness. He took Juliana to a gun range and taught her how to shoot. Think about that for a moment. He trained his co-conspirator. He made sure she would be able to handle a weapon when the time came. This was not spontaneous. This was preparation. This was a rehearsal for murder. In the weeks leading up to February 24th, the plan continued to take shape. According to prosecutors, Brendon had Juliana communicate with Joe Ryan via Telegram, the encrypted messaging app, in the days just before the murder to confirm consent and meeting details. They were maintaining the fiction, keeping Joe Ryan engaged, unsuspecting, and headed toward Stable Brook Way. On the morning of February 24, 2023, Brendon Banfield did something that, at the time, seemed completely normal. He left for work. He kissed his family goodbye, or whatever version of that existed in their household by then, and he drove away, but he didn't go to work. According to prosecutors, before leaving the house, Brendon turned off Christine's cell phone and placed it in a kitchen drawer. He didn't want her to receive calls. He didn't want her to communicate with anyone. He wanted her isolated, contained. He then went to a nearby McDonald's and waited, just waiting, parked, engine running, watching his phone, waiting for the signal. Meanwhile, back at the house on Stable Brook Way, Joe Ryan's car pulled into the driveway. Joseph Ryan, 39, of Springfield, Virginia, walked up to that front door believing he was about to have a consensual encounter with a woman who had invited him. He believed in what he thought was a mutually agreed-upon fantasy. He had no weapon. He had no idea what was actually waiting for him. He knocked, or perhaps the door was left unlocked for him. He entered the home. Inside, Christine Banfield's world was about to end. She had no idea a strange man was coming to her house. She had no idea what her husband had been doing in her name online. She had no idea that the woman living in her home, the woman she trusted to care for her child, was part of a plot to murder her. As Joe Ryan entered the home, Juliana made the calls she had been instructed to make to both Christine's phone and Brendon's phone. This was the signal. This was the go. And then Brendon Banfield left the McDonald's and drove home. What happened next in that upstairs bedroom is something prosecutors pieced together through physical evidence, digital forensics, autopsy reports, and the eyewitness testimony of the only person in the room who survived, Juliana Perez Magalhaes. According to Juliana's testimony, Brendon came home, entered through the basement with Juliana and their 4-year-old daughter, and then left the child alone downstairs. He and Juliana went upstairs to the master bedroom. Brendon Banfield announced himself as a police officer and entered the bedroom. Joe Ryan was inside. Christine was there too. Brendon shot Joe Ryan in the head with his government-issued service weapon. Then, and this is the part that will haunt you, Brendon Banfield turned to his wife. Christine Banfield, who had no idea what was happening or why, was stabbed 7 times in the neck by her own husband. 7 times. Juliana testified that she crouched behind the bed during this part. She said she covered her eyes and ears while Brendon stabbed Christine. But when Joe Ryan showed signs of movement, when it became clear that a single gunshot to the head had not killed him, Juliana picked up the personal firearm Brendon had given her that morning and shot Joe Ryan at point-blank range. 2 killers, 2 victims, 1 bedroom, 1 4-year-old child in the basement below. Here's where Brendon Banfield's law enforcement background becomes darkly relevant. He knew how crime scenes were processed. He knew what investigators looked for. And so, after both victims were dead or dying, he worked to stage the scene. Prosecutors said the crime scene had been manipulated, arranged to support a specific narrative. The narrative Brendon Banfield was about to give to the police. The narrative was,
My name is Brendon Banfield. I'm a federal agent. This is my house. There's somebody here. I shot him. But he stabbed her. She's bleeding. She got several marks on her neck.
The narrative was, Joe Ryan came to our house. He was an intruder. He attacked my wife. I came home. I'm a law enforcement officer. I shot him in self-defense. My wife was caught in the middle. It was clean. It was simple. It played to exactly the kind of story a domestic violence investigator might expect. And if it worked, if investigators bought it, Brendon Banfield would walk free. He had used the catfish account to build the perfect fall guy. Joe Ryan, by virtue of being lured there, looked guilty on paper. A strange man on a fetish website in a married woman's bedroom. It was designed to be damning. When police officers arrived at the scene, they found Brendon Banfield kneeling over Christine's body with his hands on her neck. Whether this was a genuine attempt at CPR or another layer of performance, we cannot say. But it's the image that first responding officers carried with them.
Yeah, I got more units here. We'll check him out.
He's starting to break out.
Yeah.
Stay with Sergeant. I'll just walk through, okay? What did you say the other say? Okay.
The striker there.
We're gonna have to get him
Go.
out of here.
Yeah, I know.
Can you give him a second? Don't touch anything else.
I'm not. Can you change my gloves out? You can get him out of here. The knife's there, guns are on the bed. I got you.
You got gloves on? Yes. Can you help him? Just be with him?
Yep.
Whenever they called us, what's your name?
Brendon Banfield.
Say. That's with Vienna?
Easy.
Sorry, say it again.
So you with Vienna?
My office is in Vienna. Correct. Did you call my office?
No.
I need to call my manager at some point.
It's the least of our worries right now, man.
We're just gonna get you in a cruiser outside in the air where you can breathe. You're okay, okay?
Where's my daughter?
I think she's out there with them, so. Is there anybody else in the house other than your daughter and the other female?
So she's an au pair, Manny.
Okay.
She lives with us.
But it's just the two of them, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
And my daughter.
Just one sec, we're gonna head around to this other door here, alright?
In the immediate aftermath, the family was separated. Brendon went with Christine to the hospital.
Just wait right here for us. We're trying to find out what room to put you in.
Can I see her?
No, not yet.
Any voters on channel 3 or 5?
Just get a seat on the bed for me.
He just said that she didn't make it.
I didn't hear what he said, so.
The cot and stuff probably needs to be switched out.
Can you have someone check with him again?
Okay. What is the nature of the incident?
Check what?
The status of his wife, man.
Hi, sir. My name is Juliana. I'm one of the doctors here. Your wife has died.
Christine Banfield died from her injuries, 7 stab wounds to the neck. She was 37 years old. Joseph Ryan was also dead. His cause of death, multiple gunshot wounds. The medical examiner ruled it a homicide. For now, Brendon Banfield's story was being accepted. An investigation was opened. But Brendon Banfield went home. He was not arrested. He was not charged. He was treated as a law enforcement officer who had responded to a terrifying situation in his own home. He would remain free for over a year and a half. Fairfax County investigators did not simply accept the self-defense narrative at face value. Something about the scene didn't add up. The physical evidence, the digital trail, the timeline, it all created friction with the story Brendon Banfield was telling. The defense at trial would later argue that the investigation was flawed, that detectives had a theory and then went looking for facts to support it. In fact, Brendon's attorney John Carroll told the court that the case's lead detective had been reassigned after pushing back on the catfishing theory, suggesting that the top brass had made up their minds early. And one thread would unravel everything: the FetLife account. Investigators began pulling digital records. Christine Banfield had no history of using fetish or dating websites, according to prosecutors. There was no evidence she had ever been on FetLife before this account appeared. Prosecutor Jenna Sands would remind the jury of this explicitly during closing arguments. Christine had never used sites like this. The defense produced a digital forensics analyst who testified that data recovered from Christine's devices suggested she could not have been catfished in the way prosecutors described. This was a direct challenge to the prosecution's theory. But prosecutors countered with Juliana's testimony about using Christine's laptop, the access point that wouldn't have required Christine's own accounts or passwords. Meanwhile, investigators were also looking at another critical piece of evidence: the framed photo on Brendon Banfield's bedside table. A photograph submitted as court evidence, taken at his home in October 2023 during Juliana's arrest, showed a framed photo of Brendon and Juliana together. On his bedside table, in his bedroom, the bedroom where his wife died. The intimacy of that image said something words couldn't quite capture. 8 months after the killings, in October 2023, authorities made their first arrest in the case. Not Brendon Banfield, Juliana Perez Magalhaes. She was charged with second-degree murder in connection with Joe Ryan's death. During her initial police interviews, she had admitted to shooting Ryan. She had described a version of events, but she had not yet told investigators the full truth about the catfishing scheme. Not yet. Juliana went silent. For months, she said nothing beyond what she had already admitted. She had a lawyer. She had a trial date coming, and she was weighing her options. Brendon Banfield, meanwhile, remained free. He was a subject of investigation, but he had not been charged with anything. As Juliana's trial approached, everything changed. In October 2024, more than a year after her arrest, and almost 2 years after the murders, Juliana Perez Magalhaes made a decision. She agreed to cooperate with prosecutors. In exchange for her testimony against Brendon Banfield, prosecutors agreed to recommend she be sentenced to time served. Her charge was downgraded from second-degree murder to manslaughter. Juliana would tell prosecutors, and ultimately the jury, everything: the affair, the plan, the catfishing, the gun range, the FetLife account, the Telegram messages, the morning of February 24th, everything that happened in that bedroom. Her testimony would become the spine of the entire prosecution case.
Did you and the defendant ever travel out of town together?
Yes.
Where did you go?
To Winchester, Virginia.
Do you recall when that was?
When?
When?
Not exact date, no.
Do you know if it was before or after that the defendant created the FetLife profile?
Can I say if I'm not 100% sure though?
Did the two of you ever message people or post on FetLife when Christine was home and only one of you was home?
Yes.
And whose idea was that?
Brenda's.
The Taco Supreme 7000 profile that you came to know as Joe Ryan. We see that profile, and we see Anastasia 9 communicating in this view of the spreadsheet. Do you recognize these as FetLife chats that you and Brendon wrote from Anastasia 9 and received from Taco Supreme?
Yes.
And when the two of you were using FetLife, I've asked you before what it was that Brendon was looking for. What is it about Joe's answers and messages that attracted Brendon to selecting Joe? Did he ever tell you?
He told me at some point too, but he was always making comments like that Joe was the white person.
Did he say why?
Because he seemed to be like the person who would do the things that Brendon needed the person to do.
So this person is asking to meet out in public.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that Brendon was interested in having the Anastasia profile do?
No.
Why not?
Because again, he needs somebody that would agree to come to the house. Yeah, so could do the things that he needed the person to do.
Why is that? So this is the third time that we've seen FetLife users saying, let's meet someplace, let's meet in public. And this person says, essentially, I've been doing this a while, and usually we don't get to that part until the second or third time we meet. So why is it important why is it significant why is it again that the Anastasia profile keeps refusing to meet in public?
Because of the plan I had in mind, that to happen in the house, the person would need to come over, bring their stuff, and because it was not Christine talking, so there was no way going out on a date to first meet the person.
So ultimately, out of all the users in the Commonwealth 67 and the few conversations that we've explored, Joe Ryan was selected.
Yes.
Who chose Joe?
Brendon.
And did he say why he picked Joe after interacting with him on FetLife?
It was mostly because he made Brendon feel confident enough that he would be the person to play the role they needed the person to play.
In September 2024, 1 year and 7 months after the murders, Brendon Banfield was finally arrested. Video footage captured by CBS affiliate WUSA TV showed a handcuffed Brendon Banfield being led into a police vehicle outside the Fairfax County Public Safety Headquarters. The man who had called 911, the man who had knelt over his wife's body, the man who had gone to the hospital with her, the IRS special agent, the grieving husband. He was charged with 4 counts of aggravated convictions, the highest murder charge in Virginia. Brendon Banfield will spend the rest of his life in prison. There is no parole. There is no early release. The sentence is mandatory, life. His sentencing was scheduled for May 8, 2026. Commonwealth's attorney Steve Discano stood outside the courthouse and said what many people were thinking.
It's monstrous. I mean, that's really what it is. It's monstrous. You know, quite frankly, my hope with this is that he realizes he didn't get away with it. And I know that sounds cliche, but I think through the evidence, you can see a lot of things that he set up trying to get away with it, thinking that he was going to beat the system, trying to outsmart everybody. I hope he thinks that. And most of all, though, I hope he thinks about his wife and Joe and about what a heinous thing he did, because that's something that he is rightfully going to have to live with for the rest of his life.
2 weeks after Brendon Banfield's conviction, Juliana Perez Magalhaes stood before Judge Penny S. Azcarate for her own sentencing. Prosecutors had recommended time served, meaning she would walk out of the courtroom free, having already been in custody since October 2023. Before her sentencing, Juliana read a prepared statement. She apologized to the victims' families. She acknowledged the horror of what had happened. Juliana Perez Magalhaes was sentenced to 10 years in prison, with 2 years suspended. Her attorney said that with time served and good behavior, she would serve approximately 4 years and 2 months total. As a Brazilian national, she will be deported at the conclusion of her sentence. And then there is the Banfield's daughter. She was 4 years old when her parents' lives were destroyed. Her mother stabbed to death in the bedroom above her. Her father convicted of that murder and sentenced to life in prison. She is now 7 years old. She will grow up without her mother, without her father, one taken by murder and one by justice. She will someday learn what happened in that house on Stable Brook Way. She will have to find a way to live with that knowledge. The child was the final victim of this case, and she will carry it the longest. And that is the story of Brendon Banfield. 2 people dead, a 4-year-old without her parents, and a man who thought his badge and his plan would protect him, until a jury said otherwise.